Hey guys, welcome to another podcast. Today I have Claudia Marrero. Her and I have been friends for the last 2 years. We are in A Course in Miracles together. She's actually been my leader for the last 2 years and my buddy for all of 2022. So she's been, oh my gosh, every week we come together and we read our text. She's been my therapist. She's been a bunch of other things for me, a good listening ear, a place to allow me to cry sometimes when I need to just unwind things. On top of A Course in Miracles, she is a Reiki Master Teacher, a channeler, and a cognitive behavioral therapist. So lots of different things that Claudia does in her life. She's incredibly in touch with source, and I have found so much inspiration from her over the last almost 2 years now that I've known you. Claudia, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, Jennifer, thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be with you here. I'm very grateful for that. What an intro.
I'm just so glad you're here. And you guys, today the topic is super juicy. It's why are we here? Like, why are we here on the planet? Why are we here as humans? Why are we here incarnating into this body? And so we're going to pull this apart, dissect it. Claudia's going to give us a lot of her insight as to why she thinks we're here. And at the end, you get to make your own decision. But before we get started, Claudia, would you tell us a little bit more about you? I know that you're a mom on top of all the other things that you do. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Oh, thanks. Well, I started off as a biomedical engineer, and so I was very agnostic and atheist and angry. At one point, I was angry with God, and so I decided, no, you don't exist. and I think it's this topic you chose is perfect because when I had my 2 kids and I'm a baby and I was working the business and I wasn't a life coach then, I was just like, what the hell did I sign up for? Did I sign up for this? Why was I doing this? And actually out of the mouth of babes, my son gave me my insight. He was talking about auras, and I thought that was hippie stuff. He was 3. He was 3 and he said that he could see colors. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then it hit me across the face when I said, so how do you do this? Because he was saying, hey, you're this color, Michael's this color, and I'm this color. And I thought that was just hippie hype, somebody too much on acid, and because I was such a brainiac, such an analyst, and such a skeptic. And then I asked him, so how do you do that? And he says, I get close to God. And that like blew a hole through my whole chest. And I finally realized, oh, you've been sending me signs this whole time. and that, as a troubleshooter, I was a seeker. I was finding the solutions, and I love serving people. And so now I just evolved into all of this. I love coaching. I love, my vision is making human lighthouses. And I love that metaphor because when you know you're the light, when you know you've got it all that it takes, then how can you be afraid of the dark? How can you be afraid of shadows? How can you be afraid of anything when you have all the answers within you? And there's so much more to you. So that's how it all began. And I'm just thrilled to be in service this way. And I just tell people to be experimental and scientific. Don't believe anything. Just experiment with it and just see what the results are. What difference does it make? What other people say? Look how the diets are coming around. Any diet is fine and a miracle worker now. So, I now let go some of that health coaching vibe because I was like, hey, if you think it's going to heal you, go for it, and that's how it's been evolving.
So it sounds like a lifelong process of you started out agnostic, didn't believe in God, kind of angry, and then you have this family that you've created, and your son is 3 and he's seeing auras, and you're like, what is happening? I thought this was just hippies that did acid, but he's only 3, so obviously he hasn't been in any acid. So something real is happening.
Yeah.
And then from there, obviously you're here, but I'm wondering if there was some other things in your life, like A Course in Miracles or all the other trainings that you've been to, that have kind of softened you a bit. Because the lady that I know today, is soft and feminine and
Oh,
also like wild, but like you're not angry, you're not
yeah.
agnostic. In fact, you're very spiritual.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I started wanting to figure out what is my son seeing, what is all this experience, I started researching. And then I bumped into, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I came across amazing shamans and master teachers. And I was exposed to uh, Reiki, energy healing, all of that. I was even part of a Harvard research study for Reiki. So I was a
Mm.
Reiki healer in the closet for the longest time because I thought that was too woo-woo. But yeah, and so it was a journey from stepping out of that masculine energy that I was so good at,
Mhm.
and allowed me to step into the feminine. And actually that's the yin and the yang. You got to be balanced. And that's where I go from, it's like, what's going to create harmony? Because when your mind, body, and spirit are all in alignment and in integrity, life is a blast.
Mm.
And that's what I want to let everybody know, because you know how you're so high vibe and life is so jazzed up and juicy when you're just like, yeah, this is great. That's what we all get to do, in my opinion, is like when we're all there, we're elevating the whole planet, we're elevating the whole world, and we're just shining brighter and brighter, casting out the darkness. So
Mm.
that's
Being
me.
a lighthouse.
Yeah, be yes.
So, if we think about our topic of why are we here, I have witnessed a lot of people throughout my life say like, I'm here to go to work and pay bills. I'm here to be a parent and like, slug through this whole driving my kids to their baseball games and having to feed these humans that never stop eating and like can't wait till they're 18. I'm here through life to save for retirement so one day I can have some time off and maybe then I can explore the world. I'm here to be a husband or a wife, and that's my duty. Like, I've heard a lot of different things throughout my lifetime um, of why people think that they're here. I would love to hear why you think that we're here.
Yeah, that is such a loaded question. Because
Of course it is.
yeah, it was like, as many people there are on the planet, we're going to have different visions and views of why we're here. I'm here to be the one who picks the watermelon and sells it down the street. I'm here, I'm here to just suffer. I mean, how many people just wear that martyr in the cross? It's like, I'm suffering, I'm meant to suffer. And they may not even say it consciously, but there's a paradigm inside of them that
Mm.
has them like, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is how I'm supposed to do it. I'm supposed to get an education, get married, have kids, be at home, and then all of a sudden you're just missing the whole point, which is just, we're here to just enjoy ourselves. We're here to see what fulfills us. We're here to, what is working and what is not working is what I ask my clients. Well, what's working and what's not working? Well, why do we have to label that there's some big purpose for you, whether you're creating a new fashion line or the new or the new vaccine, it's like, what if it's, why is it just be simple and just, why not just enjoy life? You want to just have chocolate today, go and have chocolate today, go and listen to your plants, or and it's like, well, how am I going to bring in the bacon and how am I going to handle my kids and all that? Well, yeah, we have our responsibilities, but what is the bigger picture? When we keep our eye on the target, on what the bigger picture is, we don't see all this obstacles in the middle. It's like,
Mhm.
when I was asking that same question, I was like, did I sign up for this? I was struggling. I had a business, I had the kids, I was doing everything. I chose that. I chose that. And I have to be accountable for myself that, yeah, I chose all that and I'm making myself miserable over it. Or do I have the choice to just say, wow, I have these angels and look at what breakthroughs they created with me. And now I'm just going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on my body. And if we go to the Course in Miracles on why we're here, the Course in Miracles, and this is just a paradigm. it serves me to believe this paradigm. It serves me to believe now that I'm not so agnostic. I'm still agnostic. I just can't prove it, which is what an agnostic is. I can't prove that there's a God or not. But I believe my God is the thing that all that is, that we are all a part of, is love. And we're here to be creators because that's an aspect of love. Love is creative, love is courageous, love is patient, love is tolerant, and love is forgiving. And I think one of the biggest aspects that had me step to the soft side, to the feminine side, was forgiveness, the work of forgiveness, the work of recognizing what was in me. Because whatever we're projecting our whole reality only all the time. So if we don't like what we're projecting, well, then let's step aside and create something new. We can't rearrange the furniture. We just have to scratch all that and create something new. And that begins with the paradigm that you want to live by. Are you willing to let go of the paradigms and beliefs that you have, or are you willing to be happy?
Mhm.
And that's what and that just made such a big difference. And I was so overcomplicating it as an engineer. And it's so juicy now. I love your word juicy, because you just get to be joyful. And yeah, I still have the same responsibilities. I still have my same kids. I still have, business to run and all that, but I like it. I choose it. And it fulfills.
I love that. I still have my same kids. Didn't get any new ones. So you talked about the question as you're looking around your life and you're saying, like, did I sign up for all of this? Like, did I create this? And of course you did create it, right? And you figured out different ways to change your perspective or change what you've created, evacuate out of some circumstances you've created, put some new ones in. I liked the question, even from more of like an overall life and did I sign up for life here on this planet? Why am I here as a human on this planet? And did I sign up for this experience? Can you riff on that a bit?
Well, yeah, because we ponder on these questions. And
Mhm.
what's working for me is, I think I do believe in reincarnation based on the physics laws. Nothing can be created or destroyed. So energy can just transmute and shift and, just be born again. Using the universal laws, we can understand how we might end up where we end up. The law of attraction, we came into this. So and there's also the law of vibration. So we're all at a particular vibration at a particular frequency. And we are going to attract whatever, based on the law of attraction, whatever that frequency match is. And based on that is going to be creating our experiences. We like to call them lessons. Why am I learning this? Oh my goodness, why am I being, because it's terrible to think, that old paradigm is like, oh, innocent people, bad things happen to good people. That's how it says, right? Bad things happen to good people. Why do bad people always seem to get out? They have those kind of ideas, like they shouldn't deserve it, and I'm like, well, what if that's the experience they decided to author right here, right now? And based on I believe that we carry over our ideas in our DNA. We carry over our propensities, our shame, our guilt, our original sin, however you want to interpret it. But we're carrying it over through all these generations, which is why we do things like grandma did, or we do things,
Right.
we we're here to take a look at that and remember, so that we can say, oh, well, this doesn't serve me anymore, and I choose to let it go. And so I believe we're in a very interesting time in this age. I do believe that we have never had more woke people waking up to realize that there is a bigger picture happening. And whether you believe in God or not, there's a big picture that we are all one. We're all interconnected. There is a collective consciousness, and there's so much evidence that points to the amazing things that we can do because of that observation. And what I think was worked for me is I've done past regression, and so I've remembered a lot of things. I'm like, I'm not that creative to come up with these kind of stories. So I do believe it happened. And it's not several lifetimes. I think it's just one existence.
Mm,
And time is irrelevant. So it's just make the best what you got. Life is now, and you got to redesign it and you have every chance to let go of guilt and shame and blame. And, time is too short to be holding on to grudges and holding on to, well, this is the way it's supposed to be, and you were supposed to do that. I mean, time is too short. We're all having our own experience of being woken up.
mm,
And that was mine. And it's worth the work. A lot of people shy away because it's deep work. It's going down the rabbit hole of, what do I really believe? What do I think I am? Who am I? And only when you get clear on who I am can you really know, why am I here?
mm. Are we all given the opportunity to wake up?
Oh yeah, I believe we all are. Some of us are kind of more analytical and noticing it more than others.
Mhm.
Like we say, we do A Course in Miracles every week. We decided to jump on that philosophy, that brain curriculum. But I believe everybody's doing their course their way. Only some people don't take the time to refine it. We tend to be we're brainiacs, you and I. We like to dissect and see and find the correct name and species and genre of it. But other people are just doing it. They just
Mm,
master, they're just being it. And they love animals, and they do their work with animals. I find that the people that are happy, people that are living in gratitude, people that are in service to their families or to people and finding peace within themselves, have been doing the work, are
mm.
completely doing the work. Whether they know it or not, whether they put the labels on or not, they are.
What's a reason, or maybe a few reasons, that people would choose to just not wake up, to just like stay in? Okay, maybe part two of my question is, if you choose to not wake up, like, are you happy, or are you typically kind of miserable because you feel like everything's being done to you and you're not maybe the creator of your life? Like, I think there's this process of waking up that you are like, oh, I am in control. Oh, I do get to make these amazing decisions for myself. Oh, I can magnetize and have anything that I want. And so, like, there's this flickering on of all these switches when you come online, and you're like, oh, wow, life is amazing. And the colors are even more vibrant, and everything
Yeah.
smells better. And like, so, but maybe that's just, and the Course in Miracles talks a lot about us, being and seeing only love, and seeing every human as our brother and our sister, and that we are all God and we are all one. And so I also don't want to step into this like conversation of righteousness that only us woke people are happy, or are like, us being online is better than not being online. So I'll stop because that was a lot. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on
I
people
know.
that choose to not wake up.
It's a good question, and we're not here to judge who is woke, who is not woke. I believe we're all on this path. We're all connected. So, which part of the flower are you? Are you in the root
Mm,
system underground in the dark, or are you the flower blooming and enjoying it? We need those roots, and like in the law of polarity, we need the contrast. We need the contrast. So who are we going to wrestle with so that we can recognize, ooh, that's who I used to be. That's how I used to be. Ooh, I get to forgive greediness. I get to forgive the scarcity conversation. I get to forgive, or giving it forth, which means letting it go.
yeah.
There's nothing to forgive empirically, right? It's just letting it go. I choose to let go. So if we didn't have the people who are not so happy, the people who are suffering, the people who are creating the crisis, who are creating the chaos, who are, you know, definitely rebel rousers and creating the pain. We need those so that we can have the opportunity to step up and recognize and remember and do our job.
Mm.
and you know, so okay, you get to be the roots this lifetime. You know, you'll be in the dark for a while. Sorry, maybe next lifetime you'll be better.
Okay, so that leads me to a question back to why are we here? When we decide to come be a human on this particular planet, like we are now, do we choose to incarnate to learn a lesson? Do we choose to come here just for the experience? Is there another thing maybe that I'm missing? And is it good or bad or neutral if you don't do either one? Like back to our people that just choose not to wake up or choose to be unhappy on purpose. Are they fulfilling their reason, their mission, maybe, of why to be here?
Yeah, I totally. You know, it's. I ponder all these questions because yeah, I was in a marriage for 25 years. And of course, I was all righteous and arrogant in the beginning. And as an engineer, I knew it all, know it all. This is how you raise kids. This is how you do that. And so I could very easily make my husband at the time bad and wrong. And you're not woke, and you're not right, and you're all this. But if he wasn't for the way he was, now he experiences joy and happiness in his way. So again, who am I to choose? Whether, you know, for me, I discovered, and this was my own personal revelation, I used to rate, let's say I used to rate happiness, peace, and joy or intimacy on a scale of 1 to 10. And then after the transformation, I realized, holy crap, it's not a scale of 1 to 10. It's a scale of 1 to infinity. And I'm definitely not going to play at 1 to 10. 10 is nothing. 10 sucks. Now my husband was rating marriage. Oh, it's a 10. And I'm like, hell no. I want it to infinity now. And so that's why we eventually, you know, got divorced, because he wasn't ready. He's not there. And it's his choice and it's his right. And he can enjoy life. And I'm sure he has his, you know, he can be happy. He enjoys his kids. He's not a bad person. So, you know, when we think of somebody as, you know, Scarface, you know, I don't know, he might have enjoyed and had joy in being the barbarian that he was. But again, that kind of just demonstrates a vibration of where you are. Now, we're vibrating in a place where we don't like to hurt people. We don't like to abuse people. Right. We don't vibe at that. We vibe at serving. We vibe at helping and lifting people up. That's our vibration. So it's like the colors of the rainbow. You know, they're all each a special, important color of the all of the spectrum of light, but they are very different. Red is not vibrating at purple, and it never will. So I'm not here to say that red is poor red. You know, I love red. You know, and I think when we break it down into those, which is the universal laws, oh my gosh, it makes life so much easier to kind of clarify and clean, because I'm not here to judge. You're just at your own vibration. No such thing as evil. It's just a negative 10, where I like to play at a positive. It's just a number. It's just, we're moving towards going back to being in the absolute, which where supposedly the word God is. God is everything. So it's the absolute, and there's no positive, there's no negative. It's everything. It's the all. And so I am everything in one, even my ex.
No, I do wonder, and you know, I think we all kind of come up with our own thoughts on, like, what does heaven look, what is it like, what's the spirit world like, what does our soul actually do when it's not in a body here on earth? And I imagine that the soul is pretty neutral, right? The soul is like old and wise, but like still learning and like hanging out at the library and the Akashic records, right? And they're like, oh, what do I want to learn next? Like, what do I want to play in the next play called Life on Earth as a Human? And they're like, if I had like my soul had like a cool mustache, I could be like,
Yeah.
I want to be a bad guy. Like, I want to be the guy that everybody hates. I
Right.
want to know what it's like to feel like a bad person. I want to, I don't know, fill in the blank. I want to say
Yeah.
murder, but like, I want to do these really horrible things. And then you like sign up for that. Like this is again my imagination, but I imagine that there's like a roster, right? There's like a binder, and they're like, someone's like, we need someone to play the bad guy, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'll do it. We need somebody to play his mother. Anybody want to be his mother? Because he's gonna be real fucked up.
You gotta mess them up, Mom.
Okay, who wants to be the family dog? Raise your hand, And so I try to view life this way, and I try to teach my children as well. When they were really little, they had a lot of questions about like, well, death and what happens if you die, Mom? And like, I don't want you to die ever. And I'm like, it'll be okay. We'll come back. We'll meet up in the spirit world and we'll decide in the play, like who you want to be next. Maybe I want to be your aunt next time or your grandpa. I don't know. But that's the way that I have thought about what it's like to incarnate here, and that it's really not all that serious. So we haven't touched on, I don't think, Claudia, we've talked about like, why are we here? But we haven't talked so much that this is kind of like a video game, kind of just like when you're a spectator in the crowd and you're watching a play. Would you touch a little bit on maybe why things aren't as serious as you think, or why the hologram and the projection of what you're seeing is really not as bad as what you think, and maybe like the stories that our mind makes up?
Yeah, that's great. I love it. I love that metaphor of comparing it with a video. I used to teach my kids. You remember? Well, they were too young for Pac-Man, but I told them, "Oh, I used to love Pac-Man," And we, if you allow your spirit, your soul, to be the joystick, you're going to be on top of it, on top of the game, because you're the joystick. Just like when we were looking at a video game, you could see the whole map, you could access the tools that you want, and you could just and go and eat. But the little Pac-Man, which is what we're in right now, we just see right or left, up or down. We just see in this 3D world. So the joystick is our spirit, our soul is handling all of that. It's like, and if we're just surrendering to spirit, and that was a wonderful exercise that we used to do in the trainings. You'd blindfold us and we'd have to be guided, and if the controlling people, they're like, oh no, I want to know where I'm going. And it took a while for us to surrender and just like trust and let somebody just let you know that you're going to be safe. That's what spirit is, our higher self, spirit, our soul. That's what it's trying to do. But we're in so much resistance. It's kind of like when, imagine if the little Pac-Man or the little guy, no, I'm not going to go that way. We're just like, come on, go, go, go. You're going to get eaten by those the little gremlins. So that's the game that we're at. What we resist will persist. And that's when we get eaten up by those little gremlins, or we have a bad experience because we're out of alignment. We're not in the flow with the universe. But if we just surrender and let spirit and trust our intuition, connect into our heart, drop out of our head is really just here to control our driving, not get into accidents, be able to put things back on the shelf without dropping them, and receiving information, I can hear the kids playing, I can hear, and enjoy out of our five senses. Other than that, we should be operating from our heart and letting that joystick be our guide. Did I answer your question?
No, not yet. However, I wanted to jump in here because I don't view it as Pac-Man at all. I view it as, have you seen the latest Jumanji movies?
Oh, I
with
love
The Rock.
those.
Okay, so I view it like the Jumanji movie.
That, yes.
Like a giant hippopotamus is about to eat you. Like game over, and then like your next version of yourself.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. Life is neutral. Life is neutral, and we could just take a deep breath and take a step back from whatever's happening and remember to just like, trust. Then yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. I do agree with you. We did like, yeah, this is going to be the journey we're going to step in, and I need you to come back. And there's a beautiful story called The Little Sun or The Little Soul by Diamond Neil Walsh. The author's name is Neil Donald Walsh. That's it.
Mm.
And he's the little soul, or the little son is talking to God. And that's exactly the conversation is like, oh yeah, I'll come in and volunteer. What do you want to do this lifetime? Well, I want to learn what it's like to be forgiveness. I want to be the special of being forgiven. And that means I need somebody for me to forgive. And so somebody has to lower their vibration and choose to come in. And it's such a
I'll be
beautiful
the bad
story.
guy,
I'll be the bad
right?
guy, and then we'll go back. And I actually have done during breath sessions, you actually can go to heaven. I mean, we are the beings that can bring heaven down to earth. We can experience heaven. We don't have to die to be in heaven. We
Mm.
could be in heaven right now. We are in heaven right now, or we're in hell right now, depending on your interpretation and which way you want to look.
Yeah, I remember my grandmother. So my grandmother, let's see if I have my book. My grandmother has been in A Course in Miracles like her entire life almost, and she's in her 90s. This is her original book. And when she couldn't read anymore because the words were too little for her, she gave me this book. And I remember being a little girl in her and my grandpa's whatever car they had. It was always like real comfy and kind of leathery. And she'd like give me life's wisdom. And she'd say, Jennifer, there is no hell other than what's here on this earth. You create your own hell. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to do like a good Cajun accent. It's probably not very good. That's kind of how she talks. It's kind of like Savannah mixed with, New Orleans. And
Wonderful.
I always was like, I don't know what she's talking about. But there was this
Yeah.
point as an adult that I looked around in my 20s. And I'm like, what the fuck have I created? Like, this is totally hell. And then if we go back to our video games, there's this point where you like can level up. Like you become awake, you look
Yeah.
around, oh my gosh, I've created a literal hell on this earth for myself. And then you're like, oh, but I have power and I
Yeah.
can choose a different choice. I can choose a different reality. I
Yeah.
can leave this person, leave this job, choose something better. And then you like level up in the game
Yeah.
and you're like in a whole nother game level and it's
Yep.
totally different, right?
Yep. And you're going to have to develop new tools and develop a new set
Yes.
of a new belief, perhaps. Or yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. That's perfect.
But
I
it's cool
totally.
too. Like the more that you learn and the more that you level up, the easier the tools get, right? Like you master that new tool and then you get to take it with you to the next level and you take it to, like I'm thinking of my son's video games where you get an axe and then you get some kind of gun and then you get to take it with you. That's what
Yeah.
it feels like to me.
It was so cool. I was watching my sons play their video games, they shoot them up and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it was an interesting conversation one day. It was like, so what happens when you get shot? Oh, we just spawn. We just respawn. And I'm like, well, just like life. You just
And
come back. And
Jumanji.
yeah,
All
yeah.
in the
It was so
sky.
cool. So, I kind of backed off of the video thinking that it was such a horrible thing. That was one of the paradigms. Oh, don't let your kids play videos.
Yeah.
But they actually got deep with it, and they were like, yeah, well, it's kind of like life. We just come back and I wonder if it's a good thing for us to not be so afraid of death.
And not be so serious about all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Woo, we're getting pretty deep here. We had a really deep conversation about this a couple days ago. Scott and I were driving back from Bentonville, I think. So we had like a good 20, 30 minutes in the car together. And I was saying, I don't know if I've ever told you about this, but here's my thoughts on death. And I just think that we come back and we come back. And I was saying, I don't think anyone dies when it's not their time, right? Unless they choose to self-evacuate, right? And I said, even that. So I said, I follow this lady named Marie Manucherry, and she was talking once about suicide. And she was like, every form of death is suicide. It's the soul's evacuation from the body. It's suicide. All of it is. So like, you don't have to feel all hoity toity that somebody in your family had, committed suicide and they're a terrible person and you would never do it and all this judgment. She was like, everything is your soul, like, peace out, time to go. An accident, you get old and you die in your sleep, like all of it. And I said, I really firmly believe that. And so he was trying to think of terrible ways to die. Like, what if you get murdered and it's a mass shooting and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I think that we pre-negotiate. And then that was probably not the right word, but I said, I think we predetermine, we decide before we come when it's time for us to leave. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Wow.
On
Yeah.
the soul evacuation moment.
You're like, oh dear God, I hope I didn't choose one of those crazy options. Yeah.
But if so, I have read, I don't know if you've read any of the Michael Newton Life Between Life books where he regresses souls, and they can pinpoint any time before, like pre-incarnation, incarnation, or post-incarnation. And they'll say towards the end, I never felt the gunshot. I never felt being splattered by a car. Like any of the most terrible things you can think of, the soul ejects from the body, and there's nothing left but the body.
Yeah.
They never physically feel it.
Yeah, according to Abraham Hicks, she actually says, or they actually say, that it's delicious. It's a delicious experience. The way the soul just ejects. If you're willing to not resist it, if you're just accepting of it, we can make it really, really hard and triple the pain of it. But technically, if you're just surrendering and accepting and okay, it's a delicious experience. I don't know. I haven't done it yet in this consciousness yet.
Yeah.
but yeah, I remember when my father was, it took him a whole week, and he was in such resistance, and he didn't want to let go. He just didn't want to let go. So yeah, I could see the body may not be having a great time, but what you are not your body. It comes right down to it. You are not your body. You're just stepping out. And somebody say it feels really good, because it is finally your spirit letting go. Your spirit letting go of this shell that just keeps us really encased in a lot of small spaces.
But such an incredible opportunity to like feel all the things that humans get to feel. I think about that a lot. Like the piece of chocolate, like the bite of ice cream, that bite of pizza, amazing sex, a fantastic massage. Like think about all the things that this physical body gets to experience. And when we're souls, we don't get to experience all of this. So I feel like being a human must be such a treat, like such an enjoyable thing for our souls to get to experience.
Yeah, some say that everybody's trying to come in during this time, because we're up to such an interesting experiment of all of us reaching such a good place of evolution. I mean, there really hasn't been a better place where so many people having these conversations or experiencing a lot more. I know some are, struggling, but really, I was struggling 2 years ago. I wasn't, but nothing like we were in the feudal system or in the Middle Ages or in the Dark Ages, So I'd rather be struggling in this age.
Seriously, we have air conditioning and toilets. Like,
yeah. And so yeah, and we could just surrender at any point and find something beautiful to feel grateful for, something to just rejoice about and yeah, relish for some reason. So yeah, let's keep playing.
So interestingly, throughout this podcast, we have gone from why are we here, how we might incarnate, what it's like to be a soul in this body during a lifetime, and even kind of the evacuation of the body at the end. Is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with? Like if a listener is going, okay, this is, I need some tactical steps. How do I get happier? Or how do I remind myself that this is all just a video game? When I'm watching the news and I'm consuming all this information and it's really stressing me out, how do I kind of just soothe my nervous system and bring myself back to the fact that this is just all kind of an experiment? It's all an exercise for our soul.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Well, first, remember, you're not your body. Take a nice deep breath. You're not your emotions. You're not your thoughts. Take a deep breath and proper identify who you are first. Get clear on who that is. And that's part of the work. And breathing meditation is huge to help you create that buffer, that space, so that you don't have to react, but rather respond and make and give yourself clarity to have some choice in a matter, whatever it is. And choose a new paradigm. Something's out of whack. If you're not happy, if something is feeling wrong, if it's not resonating, then take a look at the paradigms. Take a look, write down in journal, what are the thoughts that you're believing? What are you holding on to that might not be serving you? So what's working and what's not working, and what do you want to change? Where do you want to go from here? No use looking back at the back of the bow, the wake of the ship that you're on. There's no solutions there. So stop looking at the problem, because it's never going to be looking back at the problem, but looking where you want to go, what you want to create. And learn the universal laws. Learn the universal laws, because it makes for such a more enriching and empowering state of beingness, knowing how to work with the universe rather than be in resistance with it. And we don't realize that we're constantly bucking, the universal laws. And it's like gravity. You can't do anything about it. You don't have to really focus on it. You're not going to float off of the planet, but it's there. It's a universal law like gravity. So learn the law of attraction, the law of mentalism, the law of polarity, the law of vibration, particularly the law of gender. That would really affect a lot of us these days, where we don't know what is our role as the masculine, what is our role as the feminine, the yin and the yang within us, which is both the masculine and the feminine. What do you get to bring out so that it'll get you catapulted to where you want to go? So I would love to, your listeners, I love you, Jennifer, and I would love to offer them, anybody who says, I was listening to Jennifer, I'll give them a free discovery session and or card reading or channeling, whatever they want.
Ooh.
And all they got to do is text life is now. Keep it really simple. So if they're ready to step into shifting and clearing the caca and stepping into their dream, text life is now.
Awesome. We'll put the number to text to in show notes. I'm also going to put a bunch of notes underneath there for whatever Claudia just said that we needed to do to think about. I've made a couple notes on that. Claudia, if maybe you can give me a link on where to start looking to learn the universal laws. I'm not quite sure of what that is, if it's a book or a website or how you get started. But that seems really juicy.
Yeah, it is juicy. Well, they had that book, The Secret, but they really failed because all they did, in my opinion, and this is why Abraham Hicks wasn't even in the book. She was supposed to be in the book, and she wasn't in the book because she says, you guys are just talking about the law of attraction.
Right.
You're missing the big juicy part of it, which is everything else. I learned it through my masters and my teachers. I actually haven't found. I'll get back to you on a good source, or just come to me and I'll give you a nice little tutorial on the universal laws. Actually, I do give workshops, and I have done the workshops on the law of attraction. So maybe I'll put that in there. We'll create a nice little session for the laws of attraction. For the universal laws.
Yeah. Sounds perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending so much time with us today. I feel excited to be a human and do the rest of my day as a human. I'm going to go do some human things. Like maybe I'll eat a bite of ice cream and pet my dog and go hug my kids and just enjoy this incarnation.
It's fabulous. It's so beautiful to be dancing with you. And
you too.
I'm honored to be here. And yeah, life is a blast, and everybody deserves to experience joy and love and peace and sex and juiciness and all that.
Yes. All right. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you, darling. Bye.